Hi, the date is the 19th of June, 2026, and so the first video I ever made on this channel was called I Dropped Out of High School, and I didn't really understand why at the time. I thought I just wasn't growing at all, and I felt kind of stuck, and so I had to leave. But over the past year, or almost a year, I've been thinking about it, and I finally got the last piece of why I couldn't stay in high school, and that was today. So, just to paint the picture, I dropped out of high school, and what I knew at the time was I thought I was kind of the lowest of the low. I thought I was the bottom of the barrel. I thought, I'm a worthless piece of garbage, and my self-worth, self-esteem, it was all non-existent. And that was a very internal problem. No matter what happened externally, that's just how I felt. Thinking back, I'm like 90% sure that was a coping mechanism for nothing can hurt me if I'm already at the bottom, If it can't get any worse, nothing can, it's like a defense mechanism. But now I understand, just by living life, I understand that you just grow every day and you have to be open. And I ask myself, why did I not have this growth mindset? Why did I not improve or change while I was in high school? And I didn't understand it. I didn't understand why I stayed the same every day, why I was suffering. Until today, because I was driving and I was driving through my old town and I saw someone I went to high school with, and it felt like I was being attacked, like my ego. And at first it was like an insecurity, and then it was like an anger towards them. And it made me realize the reason there was no change in high school is because I was filled with hate. And I absolutely hated the other boys. I hated the other people. I hated all of them. All the people who were social, who had friend groups, who got along together. I just hated them. And dissecting that a little more, I realized I hated them because I wanted to be them. I wanted to be the people who had friend groups, who got invited to the parties, who had relationships, who dated. And, because I developed that defense mechanism of thinking I'm worthless, and that led to me having social struggles. And then it's like when you see a famous person, or when the kinds of people that see famous people and they hate on them because they know they'll never be that successful. And that is the same mindset that I hated on those. I was filled with hate towards those other people my age because I just wanted to be like them. And I hated how unfair it was that I wasn't like them. And instead of accepting that, I had another struggle to deal with and improving that, which I would usually do, which I have done since I've left high school, instead of doing that like a normal person, the hate is what kept me stuck. The hate is what stopped me from changing. The hate is what stopped me from accepting my reality and then going from there. And thinking back, I think it's good that I left high school, because now that I'm out, I can keep improving and take my life from where it is and just keep going without that hate. But I saw it come up again when I saw that person, and I could tell that my ego was like hurt just by seeing them. And it's, in a way, it's because I looked up to them and I wish I was like them. But while I was thinking about this video, I also came up with another concept, which is, it's the same mindset. So when I'm improving my progress. So I'm dating for the first time at 18, and I watch videos on YouTube about people who are 25 and dating for the first time, and I feel good about myself. And it's that same mindset where I'll look at someone who's the same age as me and started way earlier, and then I'll feel bad about myself because I didn't start earlier and I don't have as much progress as them. But you know, it's like that quote, a tree doesn't watch other trees progress, it just grows, you know? I just got to go down my path and be me. But that was like a really big realization, and now I understand why I dropped out of high school. It's because I couldn't go down my path with all of that hate inside of me. And I think I'm still working through that. And I think a big part of working through that is just accepting that people are where they are in life, you know? I got to accept that self-hatred that kept me stuck for so long, that stopped me, was just a roadblock, and it only lasted so long because I got stuck in a feedback loop of hate, if you know what I mean. And I knew I should have left earlier. I knew I should have left high school, but I listened to the people around me who didn't understand what it was like to be me. So I think the biggest takeaway from this is I shouldn't have listened. I should have, when I felt that hate and when I wanted to leave, when I knew I was getting stuck, I should have just left. I shouldn't have listened to the people around me, because the people around you don't understand what you're going through. They don't understand what's going on inside of you. And so because of that, I listened to the people around me, and I didn't take responsibility for myself. And I mean, I was young, but I stayed in high school and I stayed suffering for as long as possible until I came home crying one day, and I said to my mom, I will not go back to that school. You know, I would rather die than go back to that school. And, you know, that hurts. But I think life just pushed me to that breaking point until I couldn't go back, because I always knew I wanted to leave. I always knew I had that hate inside of me, and I would not be able to grow with that inside of me. But I listened to the people around me and stayed in as long as I can, which delayed my progress a while. You can see in the videos, I'm 17 years old and first dropped out of high school. Those were the first kind of videos I made. I was working through my self-worth issues. And I'm glad that I was able to make this channel and work through those issues on the channel for other people who might have been going through them. But it definitely delayed my progress by a couple of years, and that's now just something I have to accept. And it's something I especially have to accept if I want to be able to accept those boys my age who I went to school with, you know? It's not their fault that they didn't have to work through, you know, those kind of self-esteem issues early on, so they were able to start dating and making that kind of progress earlier. Yeah, I went against what I felt was right, and instead of moving on, I just kept suffering, and I went against what I felt was right, and now I'm paying the price. But in turn, I don't know if it was worth all the time, but I guess it kind of has to be. In turn, I now understand the lesson of do what you think is right, or do what you feel is right, you know? I always felt like I needed to leave high school, but I could never do it. And now I understand why I wanted to leave, and the real reason of why I did end up leaving. And it's kind of surreal. And I really wanted to get this off my chest because I'm going on one of my first dates tonight, one of them, and it's damaging because I'm putting up these walls because my ego's been hurt again. It's been re-triggered, that hatred inside of me, and so now I'm putting up these walls, and I can feel myself blocking like my feelings off. And I want to be in the present moment and feel and just be me when I'm with this girl. But if I have this hatred, this re-triggered hatred inside me from when I was younger, I can't do that. So this video is kind of my way of obviously documenting my journey, which this is a really important part, but also kind of making that commitment that I'm not going to hold this hate inside of me anymore, so that I'm open to other people. And it's just unlucky that this was kind of re pulled up the time I had a date, but I think it's also a good thing, because the only reason I tried so hard to figure this out when this happened was because I needed to figure it out, because I have a date, because I don't want to put up those walls and have that hate when I'm going out tonight. So, and looking at it that way, it's kind of a good thing that that happened on this day. But yeah, that's that's kind of all I wanted to say for this video. Definitely a more deeper, really big shift for me, and I think understanding this now is gonna really affect my life a lot more in a more positive way. But yeah, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching.